Line. We debate the trending topics in sports from a sports betting point of view. Let's welcome today's panel. Lead NFL analyst of Fantasy Alarm, Andrew Coop Cooper. The fantasy executive, Corey Parson. Host of Her Story in the Making and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. And last but certainly not least, head of content of Fantasy Alarm and award-winning host on SiriusXM, Fantasy Sports Radio, Howard Bender. All right, let's get to it, guys. Draymond Green declined $27.5 million players option and enters into unrestricted free agency. Is he crazy for declining? And where do you think he'll land this upcoming season? Coop, you're up first.
You know what? Wow, I'm looking great this morning. I don't think it's crazy that he declined the option, because at this stage of the game, it's not about getting a one-year bag for Draymond Green. At his age, he needs the years, right? And I don't think it's crazy for him to go back to the Warriors. But me personally, I'm a little more of a team chaos guy when it comes to this stuff. So I was checking around the Instagrams, looking to see what's happening. And just last evening, I saw a video of Draymond Green hanging out in Cannes on the French Riviera, sipping wine with none other than LeBron James. Team chaos calling for Draymond Green to team up with LeBron James and the Lakers, make possibly the least likable team of all time. Throw Pat Bev in there too. Let's go for it.
Yeah, no, I found it interesting that Draymond opted out. But listen, at the end of this regular season, at the end of the playoffs, you heard Steve Kerr say that we are not a championship team without Draymond Green. And that kind of was really all Green needed to hear. And he can go ahead and opt out. It sounds like there will be a reuniting of Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors as they go for their 5th championship. Listen, this is a guy that, we will say they got to move on from Draymond. But they've won 4 championships with him. He's a big part of that culture. Is there a market for him? Yeah, the Detroit Pistons, the Memphis Grizzlies would love to steal Draymond Green, but he will end up back with the Golden State Warriors trying to make another title run, despite all the drama that took place in Golden State last year surrounding Draymond Green. Look at him back with Dub Dynasty.
If you're going to talk about the drama from last year, let's talk about it, right? Somebody called Draymond Green an old man, and Jordan Poole got decked for it. A lot of drama going in there, and I do believe that was something that people started to worry about with the chemistry of the Warriors. So, I think he's a little nuts for turning down $27.5 million for that, but he'll probably get that or at least close to it on the open market if he does go. Breaking bread, eating croissants with LeBron in France, I don't buy that either. There's lots of talk now that the Heat could use him defensively, but man, I hate to say it this early in the morning for me, but I agree with the fantasy executive. Steve Kerr is right. He wants him back, and they're going to need him back if they want to win again.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what he's thinking by leaving and turning down that option. Because like you mentioned, Howard, he does have those character issues. He did punch Jordan Poole. He's had legal issues in the past dealing with assault. And it just doesn't seem like he has the leadership that you want to bring into a team from the outside. Now, I will say that he's only averaged 8.5 points a game and only shot 52% from the field. Where he really thrives is defense. And that's why I think that the Phoenix Suns make a lot of sense. They're going to have to compete with the Nuggets for the foreseeable future and the Joker. And I think that bringing in Draymond Green to kind of be a depth and defensive piece after getting Bradley Beal, and Green already has a connection with Kevin Durant. So the problem with there is that the Suns really need cap space that they don't have.
They definitely don't have the cap space, especially after this deal with adding Bradley Beal. The Suns can put together this super team all they want. I just don't see it happening here. Draymond belongs with the Warriors. I mean, again, you could say that he talks up LeBron all the time and it'd be a great fit with the Lakers. Really? Would it be that great of a fit for the Lakers? The Heat do make to be an interesting landing spot, but like Corey said, Steve Kerr said that this team does not win, another championship without having a guy like Draymond Green. The bottom line is that you just don't call him old. Don't call him over the hill. You know, if Coop or any other fantasy analyst started coming to me saying that I'm old and over the hill, I'd ruin them too. I'd punch them metaphorically right there on the Twitter sphere or something like that. So yeah, let Draymond stay in the Bay Area. I think that's where he belongs.
Listen, Britt made an excellent point bringing up the Phoenix Suns and what they could use. The problem is the Phoenix Suns can't afford to pay nobody. And I want to put a focus on this right here. Draymond Green is going back to the Golden State Warriors because of the culture that he brings. Monty Williams brought culture to the Phoenix Suns. Their new owner, who I don't think is going to be good for culture, got rid of the guy who changed the organization. There is no culture there. You can't afford another $30 million player in Phoenix. So you see the difference between the two franchises. They want their guy that's culture back, even though he averages single digits, while the Suns are trying to load up on stars. They don't have no culture. They got rid of the guy that built it.
Bingo. That's exactly right. Like if you look at every great team, because people will say like, oh, he doesn't bring anything on offense, but who cares? Like every great team has had that garbage man, right? Like you have a Marcus Smart on the Celtics. You have, Dennis Rodman on the Bulls. Like you have to have that guy that brings the toughness. The Warriors without Draymond Green, probably one of the softest teams. Like he is holding up the backbone of, the toughness that you need.
But we kind of saw that lack of leadership this season. I mean, so we saw what they did when he wasn't out there being a leader. So if he couldn't do that while he was with the team, what makes you think that re-signing him is going to bring anything different?
But Britt, they won 4 championships. Britt, how many you want them to run together?
No, that's what I'm saying, though. After this year and after that whole Jordan Poole incident, there was a marked difference in how he was viewed by the team. And I think his confidence, how he viewed himself and his place in that team. So I don't really know if he fits there anymore.
Listen, I agree with you on that. The problem is the coach came to the podium and said, we're not a championship team without him. I was shocked when I heard it, but if he said that and now the players opting out, you got to think it's going to be a reunion.
Dennis Rodman bounced and went to Vegas unannounced, no absence, just took off, dude. Came back, not a problem. Like whatever Draymond did is not as bad as just completely bailing on your team to go smoke cigars in the Sin City.
You can't assault a teammate, Coop. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, well, maybe Jordan Poole's
gonna go. You just get yelled at for it.
I've seen Steve Smith do it like 5 times. He's fine.
All right. It is not going to cost Draymond a single penny, that punch. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. He's going to get what he wants. The Golden State Warriors are going to bring him back. They have to. I mean, you really need that defensive stalwart right there in the middle for that team. It is. He's part of the fabric. He's part of the culture that is the Golden State Warriors right now.
All right, guys. The Braves and Phillies start a 3-game series tonight in Philly with Atlanta 8 games up in the National League East standings. What is the better value to win the NL pennant? Atlanta at a plus 180 or Philly at plus 1100?
Yeah, well, I'll hop in and start this one right here. The better value is the team that's coming in at plus 1100. But like we talked about last week, a lot of times this is not about value. This is about winning a bet. And the truth of the matter is the Atlanta Braves are the class of the National League. They're at plus 100 on their run differential. Listen, Philly is putting it together. They're making a run. They're starting to be healthy, and we see that. But the truth of the matter is I'm going to go with the team that's done it before, that's been there, compete in what's supposed to be tough NL East. I think they should come out of it. What I'm very impressed with, though, is the fact that you got this big series with Atlanta and Philadelphia, and Major League Baseball is actually smart enough to at least put one of the games on a nationally televised stage. That'll be on TBS tonight. But listen, the Atlanta Braves are the class of the National League. Like I'm the class of this bunch.
Oh, whoa. Oh, somebody just overshot his time just to troll the rest of the panel here. Man, I got to tell you, if I had like a freeze ray, I'd be like shooting it right at you there, Corey. I'm even wasting time here picking on Corey now. I'm so confident that it is the Braves. They are the better bet at plus 180. Listen, for the Braves to dominate the way they are right now, they've won 6 in a row or 8 in a row. They've won 8 out of their last 10. They're 20 games above 500. And like Corey said, they've got that plus 100 run differential. Absolute superstars there. It's also about the depth of pitching. As much as I like what we're seeing from Philly right now, lately, you got an underachieving Aaron Nola And then what's behind it there for the Phillies? I think they're going to struggle the rest of the way. No depth at pitching.
Yeah, I'm going to verbally retweet everything that you guys both just said. The National League is the Braves to lose. They're crushing it in all aspects of the game. They have the best WOBA in the MLB, and they're 6th best in defensive stats. I mean, what is there not to like? Like you guys both said, their run differential is plus 100, and that's #good. 8 of their last 10. The Phillies are 8 games behind them. I don't care how good of a run you're on. You're not going to catch up to the Braves. And the second place team in the NL is a whole 4.5 games behind them. No one is going to beat Ronald Acuna, Orlando Arcia, and Matt Olson. The Braves are just too complete, and you might as well give them the division now. Smash that money while it's still plus odds before it goes negative.
Can't believe all three of you guys, bunch of softies and a bunch of scaredies, afraid to go after the big money here. I mean, and especially with the Phillies right now, the best team in June, best pitching team at least, first in ERA, first in FIP, first in WHIP, first in ZIP, first in ZAP. Look at every stat. The first in every pitching stat coming in. They're 6-1 on this road trip. They're on the West Coast road trip, and they were about a foot away from being 7-0. I'm willing to ride the hot hand right now. Get my money in at plus 1,000. I can at any point come back and bet the Braves at plus 150, 100, whatever they are, and get 1-1. But this is the last chance you might have to get 10-1 odds here, right? You don't only have to place one bet. So I'm getting money in on the Phillies right now while I can, and we'll see later.
I mean, listen, if you wanna flush money down the toilet, Coop, by all means, go ahead. I mean, go figure. The guy who lives in near Boston is rooting for Boston South to end up kind of winning the NL pennant. It's just not gonna happen. Listen, I love what the Phillies are trying to do, but Trey Turner is not performing up to standard. I mean, that's par for the course when a guy signs a big money contract and he goes to a new team. They just don't have it together. And like I said before, it's the depth of pitching. Aaron Nola is underachieving. You've got Zach Wheeler, but what's behind those guys? There's nothing behind those guys. And if anybody says Ranger Suarez, I'm gonna Draymond Green you Jordan Pools out there, because that's ridiculous. And if you look at the way the Braves match up with the rest of the National League, because we are talking about the NL pennant here. All right, the Braves they have tremendous depth, hitting wise. They've got depth pitching wise as well. They can go into the minor leagues. They also have Max Fried, who's going to be coming back for the second half. So I mean, just the Braves are just built like a championship team right now, and I just don't think. I mean, is it plus 180? Who's turning their nose up at a plus 180 bet?
Bet them both. You can. I mean, it's a winning. If you bet them both and the Braves win, then you break even. But if you bet them both and the Phillies win, you're making big money here. And
what if the Mets win?
Okay, what if the Mets win?
Sorry.
Babu!
On paper, man. On paper. Like, we like all these guys on paper, right? We like Harper. We like Real Muto. I don't know. What is this Kyle Schwarber line? Like, I've never seen anything like it. Just nothing but home runs. Have you guys looked at his stats lately? It's absurd. But I mean, Trey Turner obviously could turn it around once he starts stealing bases. Alex Baum. I mean, like, on paper, they're good, and this month they're good. I don't see why we can't sprinkle a little money on here, right?
Yeah, but how much are you going to turn it around when you're already 8 games behind and the Braves are already on this hot streak? Like, that's a lot of ground that you have to make up to come back and win over the next few months. And I don't
injuries.
think that they can do
See it
that
all the time.
But that's what we're talking about with the depth. The Braves have the depth. So even if they do suffer some injuries, I don't think that the Phillies are going to get there.
Look, if they were both plus 100, then we'd all bet the Braves, right? And this game would be easy, and we wouldn't even have to anything to talk about. But
other things
when it's 10-1,
other things that you've seen all the time, Coop, all the time. How about the Braves in the second half of the season? How many times have we seen the Braves turn it up even more in the second half of the season? We've seen it a ton of times there. They're going to run away with the East. They're going to coast their way through into the playoffs. And then there's not another team in there. The NL Central is bereft of overall talent. The Reds are exciting to watch, sure, but are they in the same class as the Braves are right now? That I don't see happening there. And then when you look at the West, Dodgers are underachieving. The Giants, I don't think, have the horses to go either. And as much as we're excited about the Diamondbacks, they don't stack up against the Braves either. I don't think there's a single team in the NL who stacks up depth-wise, offensive output, and pitching depth in the NL.
Well, the Phillies just crushed the Diamondbacks in a series, so I don't know. Maybe the Phillies.
Hang your hat on that one, Coop. Sure, go ahead.
All right, guys.
I just did.
The Reds are second in the National League Central and have won their last 9 in a row. Is Cincinnati a legit contender to win the division? Would you bet the FanDuel odds at a plus 425? Howard, you are up on deck first.
Plus 425. How about I bet it already 2 weeks ago at plus 2,000? That's what I'm looking at there for the Cincinnati Reds. Go take a look at the odds for the NL Central. It's amazing how much it's shifted over the past 2 weeks. The Reds right now are plus 470 or plus 425 to win the division. They've got this phenomenal infield. They just got back Joey Votto, who's in a perfect situation right there as the mentor for all of these young kids. He's rejuvenated. He's excited. The Reds also, you want to talk about pitching, and suddenly you're looking at a short series when you've got Andrew Abbott and Hunter Green as a 1-2 punch right there. If Graham Ashcroft could do anything, that's going to be unreal. But think about this. What's Nick Krall going to do when the Reds are sitting there and they're like ready to contend? He's going to trade for a starter.
And Howard, you didn't even mention the addition of Elly De La Cruz. I mean, that elevation has completely transformed the Reds. Since he came up, they've won 10 of their last 12. Last night, they took full control over the NL Central. I mean, De La Cruz has everything to offer. He recorded the hardest hit ball at 112 miles an hour for a double. His speed is in the top 1% in baseball, and he has just rejuvenated this team. Yes, we can say that the NL Central is kind of gross and kind of all mixed together. But the Brewers, although they're good, they don't have that X factor to keep them in the hunt. I think you need to smash those odds before everyone else catches on to how good the Reds are actually going to be down the stretch.
Yeah, you mentioned Elly De La Cruz. I wouldn't fight that dude with all three of you guys. I'll tell you right now, that's a big fella. And for me personally, with what I just said about the Phillies, there's no way I can turn around and say that I wouldn't bet on this Reds team. I mean, they're scorching hot, 9-0 here. And like Howard talked about, you go back and look at the odds here, like, you know, the Brewers were always towards the top, but at a certain point, we were sitting here talking about maybe the Pirates were going to win this division, right? Like the charts are going like this, up and down. I'm willing to take them right now while it's still plus 400, but Howard at plus 2,000, kudos, man. That's part of the reason I said, why get in on the Phillies now? Because you can't go back and get those big money odds now. So as I like the bet, I would have liked it a lot better when they first started getting hot, not now after they've been hot for an entire month.
All right, now let's not continue to sing the praises of a team that had a regular season win total of 65.5, which was fourth worst in Major League Baseball coming into the season. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on the Cincinnati Reds. Let's not get carried away. They're on a 9-game winning streak. The rest of the division is struggling right now. Brewers losers of 7 out of their last 10 games. Now, look for the Reds to fade as we get deeper into the season. We're not even to July 1st yet. So I'm going to continue to say that the Brewers are the team at minus 110. Now, listen, there's a lot of good options out there, a lot of good things that guys, you know, the panel has said about the Reds and their numbers right now. But I'm not going to bank that odds makers are this far off on this team.
I don't know. We've kind of seen that shift already from plus 2,000 to plus 450. I mean, the odds are moving, and I think that they're onto something. So I wouldn't completely discredit the odds makers when we see this much movement in this short of a period of time.
Right, Corey? And did the odds makers know that Joey Votto would be getting a random standing ovation in a bat in the middle of June? I don't think so.
What random standing ovation? It was his first game back yesterday. And I mean, come on, let's face facts. Joey Votto is absolutely the heart and soul of this team. I'm not saying that he's going to sit there and go out and be some slugging machine. No, he's an on-base guy. He's going to hit middle to the second half of that lineup. And all he's there for right now is to mentor the kids. Spencer Steer, Elly De La Cruz, Matt McClain, Nick Senzel. I mean, this is Jonathan India. This is a very young, vibrant group of players now.
Save the 30 for 30. I had the 30 for 30 on the 2021 on 2023 Reds. I don't want to hear it. You know, all I'm hearing about is, Joey Votto is coming back and he's going to do this and they're going to do that. And it's a standing ovation at the Great American Small Park. It's the Cincinnati Reds, people. What are we doing here? Save the feel-good story. I'm trying to cash a ticket. The Milwaukee Brewers is the best way to do
what
that.
do the Brewers have? Well, tell me this. What do the Brewers even have on that team? You want to talk about, can we talk about what Corbin Burns looks like right now? Even Freddie Peralta is about average at best as a starting pitcher right now. This offense is one of the highest strikeout offenses in the major leagues right now. They don't have anything. They're barely holding on. This division is a mess. Ollie Marmol has ruined the Cardinals. We know that Pittsburgh's going to fade. You have to favor somebody. I'm not saying that the Reds are going to run away and win the pennant or the World Series, because you can't win a game. You can't win a World Series when you play in Great American Small Park. We've already seen the Rockies try to run that game. But I mean, to come away from the from this division with a title over the Brewers just don't have the horses anymore. They're done, Corey. Come on.
Howard, let me ask you, when the season started, where did you have Corbin Burns ranked among your pitchers?
Oh, he was in the top 5, no doubt.
You don't think he still has that in him? You don't think he can be that guy down the stretch?
I think that he can improve what he's doing right now, but there are serious problems. And if he hasn't made the adjustments by now here in the tail end of June, then what are we waiting for?
All right, guys.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, what was that?
It was time limit was up. But I heard Heather in my ear saying, "You know what? Let Howard have this one. Let's go in next topic."
I plead the fifth. Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and Kareem Hunt are still without a home. Which of these running backs have the biggest fantasy impact in the 2023 season? We'll go with Britt up.
So I'm definitely not saying this because I'm a Cowboys homer in any way, shape, or form, but it's Zeke, no question. I have no doubt in my mind that Jerry Jones is going to re-sign them so that they have some depth behind Tony Pollard. You cannot tell me that Malik Davis, who runs a 4.71 and only averages 1.2 yards after contact, is the number 2 guy. Zeke may have lost a step over the past couple years, but he doesn't need that burst when he gets those goal line carries. Last season, he had 38 red zone touches, tied with, I don't know, somebody by the name of Christian McCaffrey. I think that's pretty good. Double-digit touchdowns in the 3 of the past 4 seasons, and I think that he's going to do it again with Dallas in 2023. You guys watch. Jerry let him go so that he could take a team-friendly deal and re-sign, but Zeke is coming back, and he's going to score those touchdowns for Dallas.
Yeah. Of these guys, Zeke, Fournette, Kareem Hunt, throw Dalvin Cook in there. The one that's going to have the biggest impact in all of football, and including fantasy football, is the one that lands with the Los Angeles Chargers. I truly believe this team is going to add somebody else. Last year, obviously Austin Eckler, phenomenal pass catcher, but he's never had 1,000 yards rushing. And when they're back they had the Jaguars back against the ropes, just needed to land that punch. They just needed to get first downs when the other team knew they were running, and they couldn't do it. If they bring in Zeke, they bring in Fournette, any one of these guys, now they're looking like a true, complete team. So it doesn't matter which one it is. Whichever one goes there is going to be the most impactful, and it's going to have a huge impact on Austin Eckler, which is unfortunate for fantasy.
Yeah, I've been hearing about the Los Angeles Chargers for years, so let's just table that right there. And let's talk about this bunch right here. Let's start with, Kareem Hunt, yards per catch is down to 6. He's just about out the league right now. And his height, he was at 14 yards per reception, so it's not Kareem Hunt. Leonard Fournette is the guy who I think it's going to be, have the most fantasy value. He caught 73 passes last year, and he can still run the football effectively as a part of a committee. Now, I love Ezekiel Elliott's touchdowns, right? 22 in the last 2 seasons. But since when has the fantasy community relied on touchdown-heavy running backs? For that, you might as well go draft Sony Michel. You can't predict touchdowns. Now, if he's back in Dallas, that's the case, but I think that Malik Davis probably has more tread on the tire right now than Ezekiel Elliott does.
I'm kind of in that ballpark of whoever lands in the more favorable spot. I do think that Coop is right that the Chargers are going to be looking for somebody to take it between the tackles. I think there are a couple of teams out there who might be looking to have a guy who can take it between the tackles. I'm looking at, we've talked about, Dalvin Cook, or we haven't talked about it here, but we talk in general about Dalvin Cook possibly landing somewhere. I think that the Jaguars could be in the mix for a veteran to take it between the tackles. I think the Eagles could be in the mix for that. So I think, what we're looking at here is who's going to be the better short yardage back. Leonard Fournette might be a more complete back than Zeke, but Zeke's the guy who can hammer it between the tackles and take that short yardage touchdown.
I got a bones pick with Corey Parson here, because you can't just phase out a team because they failed in the past few years. You have to look at the new year, the team on paper. People said the same thing about the Bengals. Oh, they're the Bongles. They can't possibly go. They did go to the Super Bowl. And this Chargers team, I mean, look at what they have both on offense and defense. I know Mike Williams and Keenan Allen get hurt. They went out and got Quentin Johnston. They got a whole brand new line, Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, all these guys. They on defense, Derwin James, Joey Bosa. And now they finally have a new play caller, your own Kellen Moore. I know you might be a little sore there, but better than Joe Lombardi at pushing the ball down the field. So what is it about this Chargers team that makes you say they can't do it?
Because I haven't seen them do it yet, and I've been buying into it. First of all, their head coach, Mr. 4th and 15, is not really a great head coach. And then you bring in the kid from Dallas, Kellen Moore. I have a rocky relationship with him. But when it comes to fantasy, I just don't think by putting this guy on this team, Leonard Fournette, makes him that big of a fantasy option. We got to understand that contract and the money is going to play a role. That's why these players are not signed now. They think that they should be getting paid a certain amount, and it's just not there in the market. And listen, I love Zeke. Don't get me wrong, and that touchdown potential is there. But can you depend on that when you're setting your lineup? Oh, Zeke's going to score 2 touchdowns this week. Zeke may have 2 carries.
But when you're an RB2, it doesn't matter.
He's not an RB2, Britt.
I'm saying the difference in RB2 and even the RB36, like overall, so low end RB3, is 87 points. There's not that much difference in these lower tier running backs. And if you have that upside for touchdown potential, why not take him?
Yeah, the problem I run into with it is that I look at it, and that's kind of what Zeke is right now. So he needs a landing spot like that where he can score a ton of touchdowns. Him to the Cowboys, him to the Chargers. I think those are the good spots. Like these pipe dream landing spots of him going to the Dolphins and running behind Teron Armstead in the RPO, Mike McDaniel offense with Alec Ingold, the fullback. Like that sounds great. But if they were going to do that, they would have already done that. There's a ton of options out there. And if they're going to do that, they should go for Dalvin Cook. So I just think that him to a spot like that is the best we're going to get.
Yeah, that's the thing. Best that we're going to get at this point, because none of these guys are full-time running backs, and you're always looking at limited value as is right now. So, and then you got to, the question is where else, what other teams are looking to pick these guys up without any injury right now? I don't even know if there is another landing spot besides Chargers or Cowboys looking for a running back.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That was today's edition of A Better Morning. Thank you to Corey, Howard, Britt, and Coop, and we wish everyone a better day.